I was at camp this morning. It's 8:30 in Quinn District. And now, this camp is feeding crickets, guys. It's about 20 days old. The crickets are quite regular and healthy. In today's video, I want to share with you the time of day that we're going to feed crickets. Usually, we feed crickets twice a day. And for crickets, it's about level. 40 days old or 35 to 40 days old. We will feed 3 times a day. You guys eat solids one more time in the evening. Well, with the time of writing, that's about 20 days old. It's about 20 days old, guys. We will feed A. It's as early as 8 to 30 in the morning. It doesn't depend on the time frame, it will depend on the degree. The appetite of crickets, as you can see here, at this level it is. He's up, he's running a fence on his face, and the amount of food we put in last night already eaten. After feeding it all, let's start again. And for those, the cage where the crickets are like smaller. This kind of cage. What about this cage? Does a child eat? Not much, there's plenty of food. No feeding A. Too much, just feed more. It's like cassava leaves. Cassava leaves, it's pretty dry. You see, it's pretty dry. Then we replace the cassava leaves and the rest is still. Let it be like that. Or let's give it a little more to attract the smell. The rest will remain. That's it. And for cages like this, you guys, this is a feeding. A cage like this is as big as you. A bee is so good. It's easy for you to start this morning. This is for the levels. At this level, it starts to feed. The food is. Here is applying his chicken bran. Do you have cardio? 21% finely ground into powder. Here it is chopped into powder. Then dry feed, guys. Dry feed. Dry feeding. No need to mix water. Because there's already 2 pipes to supply water. The second one will be in a while. You guys, there's a lot of water in the leaves, so we don't have to mix. Mix water into the bran again to create moisture. If you have less vegetables in your area, or you don't have this water pipe, you can mix. Add A. Water in to create the moisture to let the cricket replenish water. It's like this cage. It's rushing. This is the second floor, guys. Maybe today will be more. 1 more floor, but we're only going to go 2 sides. In the middle. No more a floor. Let it have the ventilation of your cage. It's not all the way up here. And now it's very hungry because he's hungry, guys. He ran a fence in his face. It doesn't have any more food. The purpose of the job. Wait for him to be hungry before feeding him. Either way, we feed like this. But it will fall down at the bottom of you. So we're waiting. Feed it all. The fox at the bottom, whenever he eats it all, he'd have to run to his face to find food. Then at that time, it's almost as if our barns are clean. Food, it has no residue. And if the next day, it won't be moldy. And if not, in other days, it will be moldy. Easy to eat. It gives our crickets a stomachache or have gastrointestinal problems. Then you'll notice the problem. In our cage must be. Try the extra food. Feed it all, especially the bran. There are sometimes no vegetables. There is no A. It's important because it's actually not moldy, but only bran. This water line is dry. I have to add more water later. Then, here you see the prize is that it will eat right away. There's a mutant here. Mutation, or SAO, that it doesn't know. Let's see the zoom again. Here. I don't know why there's a big one in here. Here you see, this one is extremely big. There's one more thing I want to share with you. That's the problem. Feed trough for crickets. Here you see this cricket bell. It's also wrong with that. The coop I had earlier for the egg blister. It's a feeding trough. There's a problem with this cage, guys. These holes you see. This hole was pierced by a cricket because use the paper. When you were kids, you used paper like these little cages. When I was a kid, I used paper. Crickets, it's easy to climb. At this age, we have to change the trough. I'll replace the trough later. Other types of troughs can be used. Cover something for it. Or use alu as well. At this age, alu can climb. Then we can change the types. Eat plate so it's harder. It doesn't just drop to the bottom. And some of you. A paper napkin like this is now. Big crickets, they bite you all. It's all big. And bran it. You'll fall down a lot and fall down. I said at the beginning of the video that we should wait for the cricket. He's so hungry. That means he runs there's no round on his face. Then we are new. Continue putting food in. Then we'll go over to this cage. This bran. Feed the bran and then put the vegetables in you later. It's not until after eating the bran, but after all the barns are free. If you go back and spread vegetables, it will eat vegetables. This cage is the one that I think is the thickest and strongest of all temples. Then you have to pay attention. This is the feeding time. The health of the crickets when it comes to feeding, because depending on the time, but we don't. I can't beat the mold. It's time to feed. It's all the time. The same can be. It's not a day. We also feed at a time that they have to observe. Watch what is. It's a bad thing because there are times. It's weak or it's flaking off its wings. It shouldn't eat. We should know. We're cutting down on food to avoid that excess. If there's a lot of it, the first thing is that it dampens mold. If it falls, it's on the surface. It is also affected by. If it loses its smell, it won't eat much. It's like these crayfish cages, actually. Today we'll have to adjust the amount of bran. Feed less. It eats all this bran and chose bran. The next one must also be reduced. In the morning, he must eat all the old bran. We put new fish in. If it smells good, it's easy. It'll like to eat. These crickets are pretty thick, guys. It's pretty thick. You have to put the leaves in this one too. It doesn't need much, but it has to be given. It has hungry crickets. It could be adding food to a water supplement. This cassava, you guys, this cassava. To do there. It was picked yesterday, so it's a little wilted. That's right, a cricket of this age can't eat a tree. So we have to just put it out like this and put it in the cage. Put it in the cage. Make sure you only need the big barns. Just put it in the range. 2. Put it in the air. It'll start in 15 to 20 minutes, and it's very fast. This is the range. This is the range. We shouldn't put it in the gutters. Food trough with that bran. We put in empty places without There is no trough. If there's no water pipe, then we can spray water directly. You limit the spray on the blister, on the blister. It moistens the cage. It humidifies the barn. Here's this cassava leaf. After a while, if we see it eating, when it's over, we put it back in. This range, at this age, he probably only eats this much. He's about 30 days old, and he eats a lot. In the morning, we're filming. The memory of the camera, it's full of you. Now I have to come back. Now is 10 o'clock. 34 in the morning. It's 8:30, and it's 10:00 Persian time, 2 hours round. So here you are in the morning. Now it's almost a meal. You've punched it all. You've eaten it all. I'll check the amount of fish. Thank you, guys. The bran is almost without a single grain. It eats you all. So now we're eating it all like this. Should we put the bran in again? The answer is no, guys. We only feed enough. Thank you enough for that. He had to eat all his bran in 2 hours. For a cricket of this age range, is to do something about. 2 hours we have to. Feed him all the bran. The amount of bran that we put in. Not a. He eats lie all day. And after it's eaten the bran, if it's hungry, it'll turn to cassava. To eat cassava leaves like this is millet. And now it's going to eat cassava leaves. Lie comes in the afternoon. When it eats a sufficient amount of bran, then switch to eating cassava leaves. The first is it will be replenished with water. The second one is vitamin C and protein. These two substances help the cricket's digestive system. It works better. And there's another reason. It helps me save food. Thanks, guys. It's more about eating so many greens. It'll make the quality of the crickets better. That's it. We shouldn't overdo industrial bran. Feed just enough. What is good enough is best. Not feeding too much. Now I'm going to come over here and show you. This cage. It's also a cage. That cage I just shot. This cage is almost eaten. Only here is a little more bran. That's it. The rest is that almost all the troughs are out of bran. Here. And the cricket doesn't run around anymore. It proves that the cricket is full. If you are hungry now, you will eat. The one at the bottom is the first. The second thing is to eat cassava. Cassava leaf. Then you pay attention to yourself. The first problem is that. Summarize it in today's video. The first is the issue related to time feeding and easy hunger. It's eating all the food on the surface and running around. We start feeding. The second one is related to the problem. The amount of food put in the cage should be enough. Don't feed too much. It's excess food. That's not good for crickets. Let's not think always have bran in the cage is good. And today's video, I'd like to stop. If you have any questions, if you have any questions, leave them under the comments.